getting really gritty with the numbers, but then also looking at the human element and trying to balance the two. I think those are the two keys to really managing effective relationships cross-functionally. I started out my career as an individual contributor before SDR, before that position even existed, and where as an account executive, you really were an SDR and an account executive all in one. So it wasn't until the last 10 years, in my experience, that the SDR position became relevant within the software environment community. So I initially had been leading a team of account executives, SDRs, sales managers, and leading the entire sales function at two different companies, actually. And but when I ran across Tipalti, I met with the sales leadership team. I was initially looking at a sales leadership position to lead account executives and sales managers. But what I found was the biggest challenge they had to growth was growing the pipeline. And it's something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about the hunt, going after those prospects, trying to figure out where's the low-hanging fruit. Let's go get after that. And I also love helping younger folks develop their careers and help them establish that foundation. So looking at those two passions of mine, and then looking at a company like Tipalti, and was able to find that was the biggest gap they had when I started looking at Tipalti a few years ago. And so it just kind of worked out that, hey, this is what they need, and this is what I love doing. So I've been doing it ever since.
That sounds so cool. It's almost like that role was meant for you. It's like that opportunity was just there for you to take. I love that.
I'll take it. Yep.
I love
it worked
that.
out well.
Well, okay. So talk me through what sales development looks like for you in Tipalti. How does that work?
So, and I think this is relatively common within software companies, but the SDR community sits between our marketing team and our sales team. Mm-hmm. So our marketing team generates thousands of inbound leads for us every month. And they do that through a variety of different lead channels that they attract folks. Some are hand raisers and say, I want to see a demo, and those are great. A vast majority of them are just people that clicked on a link or they downloaded an ebook of some type, not necessarily saying they want to sign up for Tipalti tomorrow. But that's what our inbound SDRs are focused on, is trying to capture those leads from our marketing team. And then we have an outbound team of SDRs, or a team of outbound SDRs that are focused on partnering with account executives, and they'll pick their top 200 target accounts in their territory. So at Tipalti, the AEs have a protected geography territory. And so they'll go through and identify who are the top 200 accounts in my territory. And then they'll work with the outbound SDR to say, I'm going to go after these 25 accounts because I'm busy like doing demos and trying to close deals, but you take the rest of them and try to get meetings with them. So that's how the two functions work together. So while it's one SDR team, we really have two different groups of SDRs.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. It's almost like you've got two different types of hunters. So one with like a bow and arrow, and somebody else with something else. That's so cool.
Like a shotgun. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. That leads me on to my next question quite well, actually. So we found that, sales and revenue operations and just the functions to be very human sports at the top level. So what are some of the fundamental ways of driving communication between those functions, would you say?
So first and foremost, we have to have agreeable metrics that we're all aligned to. So within my organization, we have our marketing team that has a lead commit. So they'll say every quarter we will generate so many leads for the SDR and sales team. Mm-hmm. And then the SDR team will have a opportunity commit. So we'll have a number of opportunities that will generate with a combination of those inbound leads and then our outbound prospecting. Mm-hmm. So we'll have a number of opportunities, which translates to pipeline. Right. And then, of course, our account executive team has a revenue commit that they have to give. and all three of them have to be aligned with each other. So if marketing over delivers, we would expect the SDRs to over deliver, and we would expect the account executives to over deliver, and vice versa. Where it gets interesting is when we see the marketing team might over deliver, but the SDR team under delivers in a case like that. And that's where we have to meet. We meet on a weekly basis to identify, and you really have to do this weekly. You can't do this quarterly. That's too reactive. So we monitor it week to week to week and identify any little dip in the trend, and vice versa. It could be where our marketing team might be under delivering on leads, but our SDR team is over delivering on opportunities. Mm-hmm. And of course, the sales team is a little bit of a lagging indicator of leads and opportunities, because that might be more quarterly, like could be 60 to 90-day sales cycles and whatnot. But it is important to monitor that and have the key leaders within each department to identify what's working, what's not working. So we meet once a week. So I'll call that more of a forecast funnel management style. Yeah. Secondly, we have to have, we also have, I host one-on-ones with all of the other key leaders within the organization, both on the marketing and sales team. And it's not just to talk about numbers and strategies, it's humanizing things too. We have to be understanding and forgiving, and we have to be human beings with each other. Right? Sometimes I've got my own challenges within my department. Marketing has their own challenges. Sales has their own challenges, and we're not just a machine, right? We have to really humanize it. So I think the combination of getting really gritty with the numbers, but then also looking at the human element and trying to balance the two. I think those are the two keys to really managing effective relationships cross-functionally.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think a lot of leaders forget about that human touch and purely focus on the numbers. Whereas if you let that human touch slip, things don't quite work out the way they're meant to, right? Which is really cool. Just also picking up on what you said there, that you guys meet weekly. That's really, really great to hear, because I find that a lot of people that I speak to tend to leave it quite late. So talk me through that process a little bit. How does that meeting work?
So each department leader will come prepared ahead of time with a list of the results they had from the prior week, and then a goal for the next week, or it could be further, goal for the month and goal for the quarter. And then we talk about how we're pacing towards those. So for example, I might say my commitment is for this quarter is 1,000 opportunities to the sales team. That's what I'm going to commit to. Last week, I got 75 opportunities generated. We're on pace to do 1,027 for the quarter. Great. All right, we're on track. Now, if I were to say we're on pace to do 800 and my goal was 1,000, then we start to chime in and say, okay, how can we help you? And that's where that weekly cadence is so important, because when you think about folks at the individual contributor level, especially within my organization and SDR, they're really thinking in weekly and monthly terms, right? And an account executive is thinking in monthly, maybe quarterly terms. As VPs, we're thinking more in 6 months to 12-month terms, and then our C-level folks are thinking, next year and beyond, right? So, and that could vary depending on organizations and whatnot. But I think that is the key to say, what can we do today to try to affect us within these windows of time? So to answer your question as far as preparation, so we all come prepared with these numbers, and we talk about what are some of the roadblocks that we're facing. And then what are some of the challenges, and then what are the action items that we're taking on to try to address those roadblocks, and what help do we need? So we go around in a circle. We go around the horn, and it's a very productive meeting. It's 1 hour every week, every Monday from 9 to 10, and that's it.
That's pretty cool. It's cool that you've got that camaraderie, that you all come together for that 1 hour and try to tackle these, whatever slips during the week. That's pretty cool. How long would you say?
Well, it gives insight. It gives. I'm sorry to interrupt. It gives insight as well. So I might be on track to hit my targets, but maybe our sales team isn't.
Yeah.
So then the question might become, well, maybe the deal sizes are too small. So maybe we're getting enough opportunities for them, but maybe they're small. Mm-hmm. So that's where they might come back and say, hey, can we try to get more opportunities, or can we target bigger opportunities? Right. So it's not just a series of leaders going around in a circle saying, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm doing. it's really interactive, and we have to constantly ensure that what goals we set are actually aligned with what we're seeing in the business. And if we have to make iterations, we make iterations.
Yeah, I guess my second question comes into two parts. So you say the meeting usually lasts about an hour. One, how long would you say it usually takes to prepare for it? And two, like, where do you keep that insight? Where do you keep that important information? Like, how do you generate that?
So most of it is through Salesforce. We have dashboards that we have that we bring up before during these meetings so that we can all walk through and have a visual. We also send it in email format ahead of time, right. And that way each leader has a chance to review what the other leaders are saying, so they have a chance to ask questions and poke holes and all that stuff.
Oh, Jesse, just so you know, I think your video's just disappeared.
Yeah, I think it should be back any second.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Carry on about the insight. So how long would you say it usually takes you to prepare that?
For me, it takes about I spend about an hour ahead of time. So what I do, my cadence is on Friday night, and not that I don't want to paint this picture that I have no life, but on Friday night, what I'm doing is I'm recapping my week. So usually Friday around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when I start to compile how did this week go.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm pulling different reports in Salesforce to see, did we hit our goal for the week? How much did we go over goal? Did we come short of goal? And then what do we have to focus on next week to try to make up ground? Or, hey, if something's working really well, how can we do more of that? So I'm really analyzing some of those key micro trends that took place through that week on a Friday night. And then I send my email into the entire leadership team to say, here's what I found this week, right? Here's how many opportunities we created. Here's some of here's where we're pacing towards our goal. Here's some key trends that I've noticed. Here's some challenges we have. Here's some things I need help with. I hit send, and then I start my weekend. And then Monday, that's when we all meet, and then we talk through it all. So, but I think I'm glad you asked that, because I think that is a very critical part, because in a 1 hour session, if you don't have time to process and think, you become either you forget to ask a question, or you don't prod or poke holes or probe where you should.
Yeah.
So by sending that out Friday night, people have Monday morning to read through these quick little briefs from each leader and say, hey, I have a question about that, so that at the time of the meeting, it can be more productive.
100%. Yeah, I think that preparation, that tiny little bit of preparation before, really gives you the time to ask proper questions and ask appropriate questions and come with appropriate solutions, right? I think a lot of people are very conscious, and that's something that I've picked up on speaking to a bunch of sales leaders, that this year has kept everyone so busy, but that hour makes the world of a difference. Do you think that people have been more busy in the last year, or do you think that that's just something that's not practiced enough in companies?
I think people have been more busy in the last year.
Yeah.
I think in the remote environment that we're operating within, every minute, I heard another one of the key leaders here, Jason Mackay, our VP of Strategic Sales, told us that he said, if I have a 15-minute window on my calendar, somebody's going to take it. Somebody will look on my calendar and they'll see that I have a 15-minute opening, and I don't have time to go to the bathroom sometimes. So I think this environment that we're working in today, in the remote environment, makes it harder. Every meeting that you have has to be scheduled for the most part, so that's been a challenge, which I think has, in general, made people more busy, because we're more accessible in that sense.
Yeah,
by our
absolutely.
calendars.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's got access to each other's calendars. It never used to be like that. So
No.
yeah, I completely see what you mean with it being different. Going back,
you could just hide and disappear. You could just go hide, and if someone wants to meet with you real quick, you could hide in a conference room and they won't see you.
Yeah.
But now there's no hiding. They just look on your calendar and
yeah.
It's good.
We get that as well, actually. One of our bosses were saying, guys, I've now actually started putting blocks in my calendar in the morning, because otherwise you'll make me work till like 11 o'clock at night.
Right. Exactly.
So I feel that. Going back to what you were just saying about, having that camaraderie and speaking to your fellow leaders and stuff, how have other stakeholders in the business been involved in creating this like revenue collaboration? And what are some other examples that you've got?
Yeah, so we work very closely with our CFO and our CEO. They monitor our progress. Certainly, they want to see how we're pacing towards our annual targets and year-over-year growth. But they don't get involved on the day-to-day by any means. So, and I think that's really important, especially for a scaling company. When I joined Tipalti, I think we had 110 people or so.
Wow.
And now we're, as of today, as of June of 2021, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of around 600 employees.
Wow.
And so the company has rocket shipped and grown. So in just in a little over 2 years, it's grown that much. So when you think about a founder and a CFO at a 100-person company, yeah, they're going to be more involved in some of the day-to-day things. But as you get bigger, you can't. Because then the challenge with that style of leadership where everybody has to be involved in every decision is it becomes impossible to get anything done because you can't find time on 12, 13 people's calendars to make a decision. So it's really about empowerment. And I think Tipalti has done a phenomenal job. Our C-level folks have done an excellent job at really empowering the next layer of leaders down. So we have our C-level folks, then we have our VP team, then we have directors, then we have frontline managers, and then we have individual contributors. So me sitting at the VP level today, I'm extremely empowered from a decision-making standpoint. But certainly I'm going to run things through the appropriate levels when needed, mostly if I need money.
I love that.
But yeah, but I think we all have to. I think as the company expands and grows, we all understand what our domains are and what we own. So if we're falling short in a certain area, I don't need somebody else to tell me we're falling short in a certain area. I'm already going to see that and be on it, and I will come to you guys when I need help with that.
Yeah, love that. Amazing. There's been one thing that I've been wanting to ask you since you got on the call, and that is, if you were to sit down and have a chat with someone in their early 20s, just starting their, sales development career, what would your pearls of wisdom be to that person? What would you say?
Think about the industry that you're joining. Is it something that's of interest to you? Make sure but first and foremost, make sure you vet out your manager. It is your first manager, your first or second manager is so influential in your career. And if you've got somebody that is a micromanager, I'll say, you may need that. That may become a comfort zone for you. And then in your next opportunity where you're more empowered to make your own decisions, you may struggle a little bit. So I think really understanding yourself and what you need in a leader and seek that out. I can't emphasize that enough. I really think the connection between the leader and someone who in your first or second job, that is probably the most important thing.